Welcome to the Fright House Screamers blog. Unlike the one on Happy Appy, which got a little too big and had 56 or something posts, this blog will be very quick and simple, around 5 posts. However, it will be a lot more detailed than the Happy Appy blog. Now, what is Fright House Screamers? Fright House Screamers was a 23-minute show that aired on Nickelodeon on October 1st, 2000, and kept being aired every Monday, until the show's extremely short end on the 15th. The show's plot was simple. 4 teenagers would spend a night at a haunted place. The show was kind of like Ghost Adventures, but shittier, because the show was very rushed. To show an example, the entire filming, editing, and post-producing was done in a week and a half, which was slightly better than Happy Appy, but not by much. The teenagers were Tristan Ye, Jonathan Taylor, Jim Smith, and Aaron Doe. Yeah, you read that correctly. Tristan Ye was one of the teenagers on Fright House Screamers. I feel sorry for Tristan Ye, to be honest. He had to voice Happy Appy in all the episodes, including Season 2, had to be in the show that was cancelled after 3 episodes, and died because of Frederick. However, let's get to the point. How did I get the episodes this time? Well, the episodes certainly didn't come from Frederick, I can tell you that. When I was at Jim's house to stop Frederick's friends, I found a DVD case with a sticky note that read, "To Gerazim, I hope you watch these episodes. These are the 3 episodes of Fright House Screamers, plus all the footage shot for the abrupt 4th one. JF." I took it home, put the DVD and note in a spot that I could easily remember. I also told myself that when Happy Appy was completed, I would bring out the DVD and play the episodes. Well, since Happy Appy is done once and for all, I guess I'll give the episodes a look. November 19th, 2011. The first episode was called Winchester Mystery House, and was about the teenagers going into the Winchester Mystery House. The intro showed the 4 in the mystery house as paranormal things happened. After the intro, it faded into the episode and showed Tristan sitting on a chair. He proceeded to say, "Welcome to Fright House Screamers. Today, we are going to go to the Winchester Mystery House. I'm Tristan Ye, and today, we are going to go to the Winchester Mystery House. Hello, Jonathan." The man holding the camera, who was presumably Jonathan, said, "Hey, Tristan." It cut to a dashboard camera, which was recording a man driving a first-generation Chevrolet Express. In the background, Tristan, Jonathan, and Jim Smith were talking about the place they were going to. The driver said, "Hello, I'm Aaron Doe, and I'm the oldest in the group." It cut to the van in a parking lot near the mystery house, and the Fright House Screamers getting out. We see a cameraman follow them as they enter the mystery house. When they got inside, Jim is seen talking to a woman about the lockdown. She said, "Are you sure you want to spend a night at this house?" In response, Jim said, "Of course. I don't want to be rude, but why are you questioning us about this?" The woman argued, "Well, the activity here is higher than what it is normally. I've seen broken dishes on the floor, scratched doors, and faint whispers, even if there's no one in the building." Jim said, "Thanks for those warnings. We'll record what evidence we can find." After this, the show went to commercial break. And after that, the woman locked the screamers in the house. It cut to the camera held by Tristan. He was walking in a hallway with an infrared camera when he saw a blob in one of the rooms. The blob was human-shaped, had a heat signature, and was moving. Tristan got excited, ran to the door, and quickly opened it. However, there was nothing there. It goes to Jonathan's camera, where he was doing an EVP session in a room. For your benefit, I'm going to transcribe the sessions in every episode. Here's the session's transcription. "This is Jonathan Taylor, and we are doing an EVP session at the Winchester Mystery House. Are there any ghosts in this room?" We hear no response from any ghost. It cuts to 20 minutes in the session. "We are about to leave this room. Is there anything you would like to say before we leave?" The door that leads out of the room slams shut. You can barely hear a spirit whisper something. "Don't. Please." Okay, now I'm creeped out. It goes to commercials, and after the break, it shows Jim's camera. He brings out a Winchester rifle and says, "Are there any ghosts in here? If so, does this weapon right here make you guys angry?" However, no response is heard. He sets his camera near the Winchester rifle and leaves the room. 5 hours later, he comes back into the room and notices the Winchester rifle was violently thrown against a wall. He takes the Winchester and camera and leaves the room. You might have noticed that I haven't mentioned Aaron at all. This is because he was in the van getting results from the other three. At the end of this episode, they looked at the footage of the camera near the Winchester. They saw the Winchester being levitated and it being thrown at a wall. Finally, the four thank the woman, and the credits roll. November 20, 2011. The next episode was called Myrtle's Plantation. It had the same intro as before, but with a few clips from this episode. It began with Arn driving the express on a highway somewhere in Louisiana, while he says, "Today, on Fright House Screamers, we're going to go to the Myrtle's Plantation, a haunted plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana." It cut to the express going into the parking lot, and the four teenagers enter the lobby. They talk to a man who just finished a tour with a family, and gave them a tour around the plantation. After the tour, Tristan said, "I have to say this, but has the plantation experienced any rise in paranormal activity?" And the man said, "Yes, yesterday I was setting a bed when I got a scratch on my arm." He lifted his sleeve up, and there was a faint scratch mark on his arm. He continued, "I knew I didn't scratch myself on anything in the room." Tristan said, "That's odd. I think we're ready to be locked in the plantation." And it cut to commercials. When it got back into the show, the man locked the plantation down, and Tristan did an EVP session at the stairs. "This is Tristan Ye, along with Jonathan Taylor. We are doing an EVP session at the Myrtle's Plantation. Is anybody there?" A whisper is heard, which is replayed. "Yes." "If anyone is here, tell me your name." Another whisper is heard and replayed. "I'm William." "If you're the spirit of William Winter, walk up the stairs." The infrared camera of Jonathan's captures a human-shaped blob crawling up the stairs. Jonathan follows the blob, but the blob stops at the 17th step. "Tristan, I just captured something walking up the stairs." "Jonathan, I think William might be in the house with us." Yet another whisper is heard and repeated. "I am. Why don't you think so?" It skips by 20 minutes. "We're leaving now. William, if there are any last words you'd like to say before we leave, talk." "Watch out." All of a sudden, a door slams near the stairs. Tristan says, "Jonathan, did you see that?" Jonathan replies, "I think there might be more than one spirit in this room. I mean, William couldn't be this angry. Well, can he?" After this, Jonathan walks off, presumably to another part of the house. Commercials start playing, and it goes back to the show. Jonathan sets a camera up on a table and lets it play. 5 hours later, when the sun comes up, Jonathan finds the camera on the floor. He picks it up and gets out of the house. The Screamers reviewed the footage of the camera that was knocked to the floor. It starts out with nothing for the first 2.5 hours. A cold spot appears near the camera, and the camera gets pushed off the table and falls to the floor, where it sits for the rest of the footage. Tristan says, "I have a question. Why do you think there's more activity than usual when we film here?" And Aaron says, "I don't know. I hope there's an explanation for this." After Aaron says his line, the credits roll. November 21st, 2011. The third and last aired episode was called The Lizzie Borden House. It started with Aaron driving the van on a Massachusetts highway, and said in an ill voice, "Today, on Fright House Screamers, we're going to the Lizzie Borden house." He proceeds to tell the story of Lizzie Borden. After this, The van pulls up into the parking lot, and the screamers enter the house. They talk to a man who works at the house, and he proceeds to give the screamers a tour. After the tour, Tristan blandly said, "Has there been any paranormal activity here?" The man says, "Yes. Last night, when I was closing the house down, I heard someone whisper, 'You are never alone,' in my ear. I ran out of the house as fast as I could. I'm not a very brave guy, honest." Jim replied with, "Well, since we're all here, go ahead and lock us down in the house." And it cut to commercials. After the commercial break, the man locked the house down. The four were placed around different rooms in the house. Tristan was stationed in the Lizzie Borden room, Jonathan was in the Emma Borden room, Jim in the Andrew Borden room, and Aaron was in the Express, as always. It first cut to Tristan. Tristan just stayed in his room and had cameras set up at points in his room that would record both normal and infrared footage. Tristan said, "Is there anyone here?" and a closet door slammed shut. Tristan took one of the infrared cameras and looked around the room. There was a cold spot on the closet door. Tristan reached his hand into the cold spot, and it disappeared. While walking back to the bed, he captured a humanoid heat spot outside of the house. Tristan called Aaron on the radio and said, "Hey Aaron, have you seen a humanoid figure running near the van?" And Aaron replied with, No, I haven't. But I think I saw a glowing orb, though." The show went to commercials, and after the break it revealed Jonathan doing an EVP session in the Emma Borden room. "This is Jonathan Taylor in the Emma Borden room in the Lizzie Borden house. Is there anyone in this room as I speak?" No response is heard. It skips to 3 minutes in the session. "Lizzie, if you're in this room, I want to ask you a question. Did you kill Abby and Andrew Borden?" A whisper is heard, and is replayed. "I'm not Lizzie." "If there's someone else in this room, can you tell me who did the murders?" Another whisper is heard. "It wasn't Lizzie." "We're going to leave now. Are there any last words you would like to say?" A louder whisper is heard. "It wasn't Lizzie." One of the lamps gets thrown at Jonathan. Even though it was a lockdown, Jonathan just runs out of the room, down the stairs, out the door, and into the van, where Tristan and Aaron are. Tristan says, "What's wrong?" Jonathan says, "While I was doing an EVP, a lamp threw itself at me." And Tristan says, "Wow, that's pretty bad. Any second now Jim should be here." And we see Jim run out of the house and into the van. Jim said, "I was scratched by a spirit." He lifted his sleeve up, and on his arm, you could see a newly formed scratch. After that, it cuts to when the sun rises. Jonathan gets all the cameras and looks at the footage taken in the room Tristan was in. Nothing unusual happens, until the second the camera was turned off. A warm, humanoid spot could be seen in the corner. Until the credits, the four argue why the paranormal things are happening. November 22nd, 2011. The uncompleted episode would have been The Asylum. It starts out like normal. The screamers are going to an insane asylum. The man there tells them an unusual paranormal experience he had recently, and they get locked in. Most of the lockdown footage is complete, except for a few missing minutes. Tristan Ye is walking along a balcony with an infrared camera when he spots the same humanoid figure from the Lizzie Borden episode climbing a tree. He calls Aaron and says, "Aaron, that humanoid figure is here again. I wonder what he wants from us." Suddenly a male scream is heard, as well as laughter from a different man. Tristan calls Jonathan and says, "Jonathan, did you hear that scream?" However, there's no response. Tristan starts panicking and says, "Jonathan? Jonathan!" Tristan calls Aaron and says, "Aaron, Jonathan is not responding on the radio." Aaron says, "This isn't good. You need to find Jim and get out of here." Tristan says, "Okay, I'll find him. He runs down a hallway, saying, Jim? Where are you? Jim? And Jim came from another hallway and rams into Tristan. After Tristan stumbles to the floor, Jim says, Tristan, I found Jonathan. He's dead. And Tristan says, What? And Jim says, I found him hanging from a hole on the 5th floor. Tristan got up, dusted himself off, and says, We need to find his body. Jim warns, No, it's too dangerous. Someone or something is stalking us, and whatever it is, I think it killed Jonathan. Tristan exclaims, We need to get out of this place now. They run all the way to the door, but it is shut. Jim swears, gets a chair and rams at the door, breaking one of the hinges. They run to the van, and Aaron asks, What happened to Jonathan? Jim says, He's dead. Someone or something is stalking us. Aaron gets a phone and calls the police. While he's doing this, Tristan locks the door and gets an infrared camera out. Right before the police arrive, Tristan focuses the camera on a figure that was standing on the balcony. The figure was tall, lanky, and seemed to be looking straight at Tristan Ye and laughing. Eventually the police arrive, and they talk to Jim about Jonathan. Jim Smith, where were you when you found Jonathan's body? Well, I was walking down a corridor because I saw a cold spot move down it, and I saw something hanging from a hole in the ceiling. I got closer to the hole and the thing turned out to be Jonathan's body. What was the body like? There were some maggots crawling on his body. His neck was cut with a knife, and he had claw marks on his chest. And the surviving footage ends. You know, I think I have a reason Fright House Screamers ended like that. You see, Tristan left Happy Appy to work on Fright House Screamers, but Frederick thought otherwise, and wanted him to keep working on Happy Appy. To do this, he had to kill Jonathan to end the show, so he could force Tristan back into Happy Appy. I'm honestly glad Frederick's dead now.